I'm going to be going over your contract today, or your standard 1 to 4 family residential contract for purchasing real estate. A lot of people in my opinion, use realtors mainly because they're one, either afraid to try to negotiate a deal, they don't think they can market for themselves, or they're afraid of this contract. And I think in many cases, I could be wrong, but I think most people are afraid of contracts. And so, um, surprisingly, this contract that all realtors in Texas use for 1 to 4 family residential properties is not that complicated. So here we go. Had a associate of mine who filled out a contract, and I'm going to be pretty much grading it or showing him, what he did right and what he did wrong. So, um, you have the names of the sellers right here, and as long as they both of their names is on the property, typically when you have a married couple, you want to double check and make sure that um, if both of their names need to be on there. And most of the time, if they're married and they've been married for a while, then that is the case. Then, of course, our name for the buyer. Um, some people put and or signs to right here, but that's not where I put that out. Just in the case you wanted to have the freedom to assign this contract to someone else during closing. Also, number two, the property description. This is actually where you want to put your legal description of the property, which most homeowners don't even know. The address actually goes down here. So we can erase that. And I typically leave this blank. The title company will fill that out for you in most cases. You don't have to worry about that. So this is where you put your county, this is put your city, and this is where you put your address right here. Address for the property. Now, next you see exclusions. These are, this is pretty much fine print. If I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it if it's not asking me to fill anything out. So, not saying that you shouldn't read it over, but still. Now on D, there's a spot for you to pay attention to exclusions. Is there anything that is currently at the property that is not going to be included? Many times, like a metal shop or a storage building in the backyard that they want to take with them, or maybe a large new portable fireplace thingy that they don't want to sell along with the home. Anything that they're not including, a big ice box or meat freezer or whatever you want to call it. Anything that is at the home that is not included in the sale, they need to let you, this is the place where they would let you know about that up front, and they would need to write that in. So there won't be any further disputes or misunderstandings. Just simply says the following improvements and accessories will be retained by the seller and must be removed prior to delivery of possession. Okay, so sales price. Now, many times we're doing owner finance deals, so this will be where your down payment goes. If it's an owner finance deal, this is the total price. The sum. C is the sell price. The sum of whatever's being financed to you. So if it's $110,000 sales price and I'm paying 5 down, then 105,000 is the difference. That's the amount that's being financed. What kind of financing is it? Is it you get your own financing? Is the seller going to finance to you, or are you going to assume their loan? So, many cases for us, it's seller financing addendum. I believe, could be wrong, it'd be worth looking into that if you do a subject to deal, you're still going to classify that as a seller financing addendum. Don't quote me on this, but because most of the time, even if you do just assume someone's loan, many times there is a clause that's saying that it's a non-assumable loan, so you still want to classify that as a seller financing addendum. But moving on, that's another video right there, whole nother video. If you have any questions about that, you can comment. I'll leave this blank, number 4. If I'm not a real estate license holder, I'm not an agent, so I don't have to be concerned with number 4. Now, number 5, earnest money. I believe in my experience, most title companies in the state of Texas require something for earnest money, whether it's $1 or $10 or $100. Usually, if the home is $50,000 or less, $100 is fine for earnest money. Some people are going to want more like 500 or 1,000. That's all negotiable. But you put the amount right here, amount of earnest money. So in this case, we'll just put $100. And what title company are you going to be using? Many investors have a specific title company that they use or a lawyer, and you would put their name right here. So let's just say Cherokee Title. And since Cherokee Title is in my county, and this home is in Henderson County, so be a little bit more for my title company a little bit more money for my title company to do it. But if that's who I'm comfortable with, and I would prefer to use them. This is just the address of Cherokee Title. Whatever title company you're using, you put that address right there. It's not mandatory that that's filled. This part is filled out. It does not have to be filled out immediately. It'd be good if you knew it, but if not, I don't think it's going to hurt you. Once again, I'm not a lawyer, but what I've done so far has worked for me. Title policy and survey. Who's going to pay for the title policy? And is it going to be the buyer or is it going to be the seller? Usually, what I'll do, depending on the scenario, many times, the closing costs are split down the middle. But that's all negotiable. But to be fair, I usually offer, to split the closing costs on whether I'm buying or selling. Now, if they got me all the way to my bottom dollar, or past my bottom dollar, then I'm not paying the closing costs if I'm the one selling the property. I'm not paying any closing costs. So most of the time, I want to say sellers cover this and we cover the closing cost and they cover the title policy. We can cover the survey if there is one, or if we decide to get one. This is again where you put your title company that's going to be doing the title policy. Down here you see where you need your initials. Since there is a husband and wife in this deal, they both have the initials. And you see, this is actually this right here is actually incorrect. And so I'm not the seller in this deal, I'm the buyer. So we have to switch these around, put them over here and me over here. I'm the buyer and they're the sellers. So, okay. The address at the top of this page number 2. Scroll down a little bit. So, survey, we choose a period of time within X amount of days after effective date of this contract. Seller shall furnish to buyer and title company. So, 30 days just to be safe. That number is not extremely important. I put enough date time in there just in case something happens and, we need extra time. 30 days should be plenty. Within 30 days after this contract, they should obtain a new survey. Okay, I'm going to leave that blank. This right here is going to be, who is the one responsible for paying for the survey. We'll put that for the buyer's expense. And let's see, usually skip all this. Now right here, um, is it the property in a property owners association like HOA or whatnot? Uh, that's a big deal. You need to know that. They should know that. The property owners will know that. So most cases it's not subject to membership in the property owners association. If you are buying in the property owners association, make sure you understand what the HOA fees are every month or every year, and what kind of restrictions there are for you on that property. Now this is initials again. This one's done correctly. My name for buyer, sellers. Address again on top of page 3. Continue down. This is all fine print on this page. You don't have to be concerned about it too much. Initials, address, okay. Property condition. Most cases, all right, first of all, seller's disclosure notice. Basically, the disclosure notice is just a sheet, a checklist where the seller will check what all the property has, any problems it has, and kind of like the condition of the property. If it has fire, along, whatever you call that. Um, can't even think of what you call it right now, but the little fire things that alert things that on your ceiling, if it has carbon monoxide detectors, if it has a garage key, if it has a garage, if it has a fireplace, if it has HVAC, and if it's working, and all that kind of stuff. So just a checklist. If you have received that, you check that. If not, say I have not, as the buyer, I've not received this notice within 30 days. And then so I'll leave the rest of this blank. Most of the time we are accepting the property as is. If not, if the seller promises, if they say, hey, I'm gonna fix that before you guys buy it, I promise I'll fix the roof leak, I promise I'll fix that plumbing leak, or if that's negotiated into the deal, then you would not check as is. You would say buyer accepts the property as is, provided the seller at the seller's expense shall complete this following specific repairs and treatments. And so you put in there, seller is putting a new roof before closing, or whatever. So most time we're buying it as is, but we always can negotiate repair, especially if the seller is like a handyman, construction contractor. Then it's good to try to negotiate in there some repairs. Skip down. Initial again. Page 5. Address. The closing date. This is important. You want to give yourself, in the line of business we're in, we want to give ourselves plenty of time to close. If you're selling a property, you want the closing to be fast, 2 to 4 weeks tops. If you're buying, you want as much time as possible, but you also want to take note of the kind of circumstance the seller's in. If the seller says, hey, I have to sell by this date and we got to be gone and we're moving to Alaska in 3 weeks, and they have to close by 3 weeks. So, this is all negotiable right here, but you do want to pay attention to the needs of the seller, because if you put a closing date that's too late for them, then that'll be a deal breaker. So you want to talk to them before you decide on a date, but you do want to try to negotiate as much as you can. The typical time period for closing is 30 days. Okay. Possession of the property upon closing and funding. They're going to give you the key. That's almost always how that works. Now, 11, special provisions. This is important. This is where I like to put a few extra statements in here. Most of the time, this contract is subject to partner's approval. That kind of gives me a way out in the case that I want to back out and make sure I get my earnest money back. Or let's see. Also, this contract is assignable, basically meaning I can assign my rights in this contract to another party during the closing period. If my friend Benjamin hears about this sweet deal, hears me talking about this sweet deal I got, and he says he wants to give me, you know, 50,000 for a property that I've got under contract for 40,000, then he can give me $10,000, and I can put together an assignment uh, agreement, and that would work out fine because this contract is assignable. And let's see. I'll also, typically put in here, seller understands, and I'll explain. I'll even be explaining this to the seller, of course. Seller understands. Buyer will be marketing this property during the closing period for a for a large profit. So seller will possibly see, seller and friends will possibly see, or let's put it like this, seller will possibly see and or be notified that someone is marketing their property. So that's important because, in the line of business we're in, we're trying to find a renter or a buyer a while before we even put any money into this property, before we even close on this deal. Works out so much better for us like that. And there's been problems in the past where people say, why are you trying to sell my property on Facebook? We haven't even closed yet. Even though I explained that I was going to do that to them verbally, for some reason they still had a fit about it. So I'll go ahead and put that and make them initial right here. And on hellosign.com, I'll do a video on that. We can also have them initial and sign right here as well, just so that they know for sure that they've signed and they've agreed for us to be marketing this property before the closing period, and they're not going to have a fit about us making money, a large profit off of it, if that is the case. So initials at the bottom, address again, we're on page 6. This is all fine print on page 6, initials at the bottom. Page 7, address of the property. This is fine print now. Here, right here, we would put our address, P.O. Box 152, Jacksonville, Texas, 75766. Phone number. This is so the title company knows how to contact us. Email. Okay, and then the seller would need to put their information here as well. And sometimes I don't really care if they put their information right here, because I've had cases where the title company was working on a deal. They they finished with the title policy quick, and I wasn't ready to close yet. I was trying to prolong the deal. I needed more time to put my funds together, and they immediately contacted the seller and was like, hey, we're ready to close, we're ready to close. Okay. The seller gets all mad because I'm not ready to close, and the title company's got them, thinking that it's time to close, and honestly, we still got plenty of time for closing in our agreement, and it just caused problems. So I don't even force them to fill this out. I prefer the title company just be in contact with me, and I can inform them, and I can kind of filter what the title company says, and so the seller doesn't get all worked up for nothing. Now, here's any other addendums or attachments to this contract that we'll need. So since it's a seller financing deal, we'll check that one. If there was a HOA, property owner association, you would check that one. If there was, let's see, oil and gas reservation or other minerals. Addendum for sale of other property. Like one time I negotiated a RV into the deal that was sitting on the property and say you're going to throw in the RV. Okay, great. And then we had to put together, the RV is not a real estate, so we had to put together another attachment to this contract for that. Or maybe a car you may negotiate in an old Buick that's sitting out there, and you say throw that car in the deal, and I'll give you 300,000. So if that's the case, then you have to put together an addendum, but you can find that contract just like you found this one on TREC website, TREC .gov or org or something like that. I think it's .gov. So initials down here, um, address, termination option. This is basically what most people call option fee. We won't talk about that right now. Um, but when we get into doing, deals where there's they want a large amount for the earnest money, like $1,000, then we like to pay for an option fee. And it gives us a period of time. If we don't put that subject to partners' approval right here, then we would lose our earnest money. And if there's a large amount for earnest money, we wouldn't want to lose that in case we decided not to buy the deal because there was an unexpected, you know, issue with the property that we didn't know about and we didn't find out until inspection. So we can put, if it's $1,000 earnest money, you can put $100 option fee, and you lose only $100, not the whole $1,000 if you decide to back out within the inspection period, which is however many days you put right here. I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. If you get into an issue like that, you can always email me or contact me, and I'd be glad to get back with you and help you with more information on how to do this option fee deal. So, this is if you're using an attorney. I don't worry about that. This is where you sign. Since there's two sellers, the husband and wife, they both need to sign, and I would sign right here. And then there is one more page, address up here, and if there's a broker being used, cool. If not, don't worry about that. Now, if we did an option fee, this would be the receipt. You don't give that to them. You just fill it out and turn that into the title company as well. Now, since there was earnest money, you fill this out for the earnest money, turn that into the title company as well. Other than that, I think we got this. We've gone over your 1 to 4 family residential contract for resale of property in the state of Texas. Anything that's got 5 or more units is a commercial. Multifamily commercial property, you would need another contract for that. But anything that's got 4 or less homes or units on the property, then you would use this contract. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. Please subscribe. We're going to be doing more simple teachings like this, things that a lot of real estate gurus don't really talk about, the specifics that I think a lot of people need to know this stuff. So I definitely recommend using an attorney. I've had issues in the past with contracts and whatnot, but for the sake of just tying something up, so no one else can buy it, this will work and this will do until you can get to an attorney. Because a lot of times you don't have an attorney just immediately at your disposal, and your attorney may be busy. It may take him 2-3 weeks just to get around to putting together a contract for you to buy a property. And anyone who's been in real estate knows that time is of the essence. If you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks, then you may miss out on the deal. So I like to bring these contracts with me when I go look at a property. So without pressuring people, we do at least have the option to go ahead and get them to sign. My goal is to get them to sign the contract. May even already have it halfway filled out. But my goal is when I go look at a property, if I go look at a property, I want to already have a contract like this in hand. And my goal is and I'll leave it in the car you know, while we're looking at the property. Most time we're still negotiating. Sit down. If I like it, we'll sit down, we'll talk, we'll do a little bit more negotiating, and then if we come to an agreement, I'll say, all right, well, I got a contract in the car. If you'll accept X amount, then I'll sign the agreement today. But I want to make a deal quick because I'm going to be, heading out of town. Or I've got a lot of other things going on. So it kind of, you know, time is of the essence, and with any deal. So I never want to drag my feet, and people are indecisive. So I want to encourage them. Hey, if you want to sell the property, here's my offer. If you want to do it, let's sign the agreement today, and we'll go file at the title company tomorrow or that evening or right then and there. If they have any questions or concerns, I encourage them. Hey, look, we can go to the title company, and they can look and explain this to you if you don't want to take my word for it. So um, once you get the contract signed, take it and file it at the title company, and along with the earnest money, and then it's pretty much locked up. But that's it, you guys. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. And like I said, subscribe if you have any questions. Uh, feel free to comment, and I'll be glad to help.